Dear friends, good morning. Hope you all are doing well. So, I have brought a new video today where we will discuss about what is SAP End Users and what is called as SAP Consultants. Okay, so we will go into detailing of each of these roles. We will understand what kind of work usually they perform and what is expected out of them, right? And if at all somebody wants to switch from end user role to the consultant role, or maybe sometimes from the consulting role to the end user role, how that can be done and what all the different things need to be kept in mind, and how this entire scenario can work out for us, right? So let's go into the detailing of it. Okay, and one more request to all of you is, please like this video, put up some comments as per your understanding, and subscribe this YouTube channel, because each video creation takes quite a lot of effort, time and other investment, and your one like, one subscriber and one comment means a lot to me. So please support me into this journey. I will keep bringing in such kind of useful videos from the career perspective, from the SAP perspective, from the SAP job perspective. Even lot of other areas also related to the SAP I will be covering up in the upcoming videos. Okay, now let's move on to the next slide. So this is the same thing. Many people always confuse that if I work for 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years in the end user role, then after doing one single course or by doing one certification, I automatically qualify for the consulting role. Unfortunately, that is not true at all, because these two are two completely different roles rather than being a single role. Okay, let's move further on this. So from the content perspective, so these are the things which we are going to see and understand in this video today. What is SAP end users? What is SAP consultants? What all the challenges are there in both of these roles? Okay, how to do a career switch from end user perspective to the SAP consulting role, right? Then what are the future prospects SAP Consulting has? What is my personal view with regard to SAP End User and SAP Consulting? And finally, we will end this video on the conclusion part. Okay, let's move on to the next. So as you can see on the screen, consultants versus end users, SAP Consultant and SAP End User. Please understand that here I am not saying that which role is bigger or which role is complex, which role is more useful, which role is not useful. It depends on quite a lot of factors. It's not just single factor item, it is basically a multi-factor item. Okay, let's move on to the next slide. So let us understand what the SAP end user role is all about, right? So usually these people will have very limited authorization in the SAP system. They will be able to see only couple of, I will say maybe couple of, and sometimes maybe 50 to 100 and T codes on an average, or sometimes if it is super user, key user, power user, these people usually have better access in the system. I will say in that term they may have maybe 100 or 200 or maybe 3 to 400 T code access to the max, not more than that, right? So basically SAP end user job does not matter which variety it belongs, because within individual also we have so many varieties, right? So it is business transaction code based job. They will have limited authorizations in the system. Okay, and another part of the SAP end user is they usually deal with only production system most of the time, and at times they deal with the quality system. They never touch usually the development system. Okay, that's another big difference between them, because development system is meant only for the consulting role, not for the end user role. Usually initial training is provided by the company. As they grow up, they then later on they train the new joiners also at a later stage. These people usually have good business process knowledge like P2P cycle, O2C cycle. There are many other cycles, right? Payroll cycle, subcontracting, and a lot of things, inventory and other stuff, depending on which area they are working with, right? Invoices, payments, right? Recovery, all those things. Then the work environment in which they work usually are actually less challenging in the sense they will not have to deal with every day a new set of challenges day in and day out. Usually they will have a defined process what all things they need to perform against each of these things. Only sometimes they may work on some ad hoc reporting and something like that, right? So mainly here it is called as two variety of things usually they do. Either they do the data entry job or they do the reporting job from the SAP system. Other than that, lot of paperwork and other things also they usually deal with. So in that case, that is why I call them usually as the SAP front end workers. They work always on the front end of the SAP system. They will have limited exposure to the how the SAP system actually works, what all things are there under it. Just these ideas they will have pretty less. Apart from that, since their work is mainly related to the data entry operator kind of thing in the SAP system, the growth opportunities they may grow in the business like from the executive to the senior executive to the manager, senior manager. Likewise, the way usually anybody grows in a company, right? So they also grow in the similar fashion, but that depends on a lot of other factors also other than their regular work performance. And the scope of learning also remains restricted only to the area in which they are working. Even if they want to learn into other areas, it is usually difficult for them to get an opportunity to explore the other areas of the company. For example, if somebody is working in the AP side and if they want to know what is happening in the asset side, unless they move into another department, they will not get to know that, right? That's why I said a limited scope of learning. So these are the nutshell all about how the SAP end user works, right? Now let's go into the SAP consulting role or consultant role basically. So as I said, too many different type of jobs you can have within the SAP consulting. You will say why I can have too many varieties of job. Yes, of course you will have. You can work in a support project, you can work in an implementation project, you can work on the ECC system, you can work on the HANA system, you can work for the SAP trainings, right? You can work as SAP and in SAP within consulting role also from the junior level to the senior most level there are much more varieties than what you can see in the SAP end user role. The variety can be literally too many. Okay, so as a fresher if you join, many a times company gives you the training, and sometimes you also get training on the job, like something like shadow training. That means you will be working under somebody's senior's guidance, but you will not be touching directly the production system or the development system without their consent. So you will be watching it, how it is happening, and sometimes they may even allow you to do and perform certain activities in the SAP system. Okay, so all in such kind of roles, SAP system functionality exposure, the consulting role requires extensively actually, because if you are not having extensive exposure with regard to the SAP system functionality you will not be able to perform or justify with the role you are hired for in the SAP consulting side, right? These people usually have the limited business process overview and understanding, but system process wise they have very good knowledge how system works, what all things are there. So those ideas they will have quite a lot actually. Along with that, in the consulting role you have unlimited growth opportunities. What I mean by that is worldwide more than 2.5 lakh companies use SAP in one way or the other. For some companies it is back-end system, for some companies it sometimes works out also as a front-end system, right? See, this front-end system, back-end systems and other systems are basically part of some other topics, so we will be covering up those areas into detail into some other videos, right? But here basically I am talking about the growth opportunities. So you can work on a local client, you can work on an overseas client, you can travel all across the globe, right? You can work with a different set of people and you can have a new challenges every day in your life. So this is how a consulting role usually works, right? Here you will also have, since you will have very good exposure here and there with regard to various kind of activities and work related to the SAP side, you will also have unlimited scope of learning also, as earning as well. So you can earn in based on your experience, based on exposure, based on what kind of value you can bring to the table or what you kind of solutions you can deliver to the client. So based on those things and what is the your area of expertise, the market demand of the given skill sets and lot of other factors are there, but then in general you will have very good chance of learning and earning well. You will also get global work exposure. I mean, it is not that always you will be working for a local client which will have very local presence maybe in a given country or things like that. Many a times you also get a client to work on who will have multi country presence, and if they have multi country presence that means you will have a global team basically. So if you are working with a global team, that simply means you will have global work exposure as well. You will get in touch with different background of people from different countries of people. You will also get to know how do they behave, how do they work, what is their work ethics, and a lot of other factors. It's not just about that, right? Apart from that, you also need to have very good people management skills. It's not just about single facet role, it is actually a multi-facet role. Why I say like that? For example, you deal with your colleagues, you deal with your managers, you deal with your clients, right? You deal with the stakeholders, right? You deal outside the company also at times depending on work here and there, right? Sometimes you will be asked to take the interview, somebody sometimes you will be asked to give the interviews, right? Somebody you will be asked to train the juniors, right? You will give the user acceptance training and a lot of internal trainings, external trainings also sometimes needed, right? So the kind and the variety of roles which is being performed, so everywhere you have to deal with the people, right? So that's why your people management skills also is needed. Apart from that, remember, there is something called as office politics. Here I have not mentioned specifically, but I just want to let you know, even to deal with office politics you need to have good people management skills. Otherwise, even despite having good performance in the company, you will not get what you deserve. So that's why I'm saying these things are very much needed. Apart from that, this also needs very high level of flexibility, because in consulting work is not like 9 to 5 work. End user work can be 9 to 5 work, but consulting work can never be 9 to 5 work. Why? Because here you deal with a new challenges on a daily basis, right? So for that you need to be very flexible. Sometimes you will have to work on the weekends, sometimes you have to work into the different shifts, sometimes you have to work much more beyond the 8 hours or 9 hours or 10 hours of your regular working hours, right? Depending on situation to situation. Suppose you have got a P1 ticket, for example, In that case, unless it is getting sorted out, you cannot even take a break, right? So the work environment will be very challenging, very it will actually, you will actually exhaust by working such kind of work, but then it is equally rewarding as well. Sometimes you have to deliver a particular solution within a given tight timelines, and if you fail to it, the company will have to pay the penalty also. So the timelines for the delivery of various kinds of work within the SAP system also will be sometimes very tight. You will not have enough time to do R&D, I mean research and development in the SAP system. I mean trial and error method is what I am talking about. So all these things will come under your SAP consultant's role. Now you can easily imagine how much will be the difference between the consulting role and the end user role, right? Let's move further. Now, challenges in both roles. What are the important parameters on which these two jobs, I mean end user role and the consulting role, differs? Limited job types to the unlimited job types. Comparatively, when you compare from the end user perspective to the consulting perspective, the variety of jobs offered by two different areas of SAP are actually quite a lot. Consulting will have too many varieties, end user will not have too many varieties. Area wise it can be different, but area wise even consulting job can be different, right? Career opportunities also, it will be like limited versus unlimited. Your end user perspective, even if you work for 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, not sure how far it will be useful to you and how much you can grow out of it, right? But if you work for 20 years in the consulting side of SAP, then even the sky may not be the limit at times. You can all the way, you can easily become delivery manager or maybe senior delivery manager for a company where you can handle multiple clients at one go, right? And the work location for these two roles can be, one can be purely local most of the time, and one will be, consulting will be local plus global, depending on which client you deal with, whether it is a local client or it is a global client. If it is a global client and if it is an implementation work, most of the time you will fairly have a chance to go to the outside of your home country as well, right? So in that case it will be having global exposure as such. The learning curve, I mean how much you learn as an end user role. You will learn for first 2 months, 3 months, maximum 6 months. After 6 months, your job will become highly monotonous. You will not be able to see anything new unless you move into another department or unless you move into something else. Right? So your learning curve will be very much limited, but in consulting side, you never know what will come next. Right? Plus, switching of career in the consulting side is, I will say, much more easier when switching the same career in the end user role. It is there, the scope is limited, and the opportunities are also at times quite limited. But same does not go with the consulting role. You can have as many opportunities as you want, you can have it. Business process exposure also. Business process exposure, I said limited versus unlimited due to some reasons. If you work for, suppose example, for GL or maybe in AR or AP or maybe sometimes even in assets or maybe some reporting, the area in which you work, you will gain expertise only into that area, right? Business process and all other things as an end user you will understand that too at a very surface level, not at a very deep level. You will understand the functional part of it, right? But as a consultant, you will have a chance to explore not just the area of your expertise, but also if you want, you can explore your other areas also, whatever module you choose on. Suppose somebody is good in SAP FICO area, and if they want to learn SAP MM or SAP SD, right? They can learn. There is no harm into learning. Many a times people think that we should not expand too much, but this extension actually helps you a lot when you get to a problem which is a cross module issue, right? That's why I said business process exposure is also limited versus unlimited. Now coming to the work environment, this we have already talked on, but just to give you a brief of it, if you have a global team, you will have to deal with different set of people, different mentality of the people, different culture and behavior of the people, different spoken language of the people, and still you have to run the show, you have to deliver the work to the client, right? Travel, usually as a end user role, you do not travel too much, and your travel also is pretty much limited based on the business requirement. But in case of consulting role, at least some senior people definitely always go if it is the work is coming from outside, I mean from the other country as such, right? So travel also you will have to do depending on situation to situation. Then soft skills, this skill is highly underrated skills in the consulting side. Remember, as a consultant, you are always supposed to talk, you are supposed to explain, you are supposed to convince, you are supposed to negotiate, you need to create lots of documentations, user trainings, training materials, and too many documents are there which you need to prepare within the SAP work as well. I mean, consulting work as such. See, I'm not saying that end user people never create any document, they don't need to talk somebody, but then, as I said, they will deal with people at a very superficial level, right? But the same does not go with the consulting role. So, consulting role will require you to do lot of other activities also along with this. So, for that, to deliver this thing properly, to deal with your colleagues, to deal with your co-workers, to deal with your managers, to deal with the trainees, to deal with the end users, to deal with the stakeholders, to deal with the management people, and to deal with lot of other stuffs. Without soft skills, it will be tough to deal with all these things, right? So soft skills requirement will be much more higher in the consulting role when compared to the SAP end user role. Let's move on to the next. Now, a very important topic which I particularly want to mention is many people think that career role switch from end user to the SAP consultant is very easy. It can be done anytime, any moment. There is no big deal as such. Unfortunately, that is not the case. As I have already clearly mentioned that many many a times it is people thinking that it is not a tough task at all actually, okay, but that is actually not the case, because the nature of the job, and sometimes even end users think that after working for a couple of years, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, even sometimes 15, 20 years, they think that they have understood the system entirely, they think that they know system in and out, and they also think that overnight they have got the right to ask to convert themselves as SAP consulting role. Again, a misconception as such. I have seen many people, and very recently also I come across one person who was having almost 15 to 20 years of experience in terms of SAP and user role, and that person was asking, can I move into the consulting role? I clearly said, boss, don't do that mistake, because as a consultant role, see, somehow you can get the job also, but the kind of salary what you have now, SAP entry level role will not offer you that kind of salary. Are you ready to sacrifice your couple of years, that too with a completely different mindset? In your end user role you deal with only few set of people, but in the consulting role you will have to deal with thousand sets of people. and that too different sets of people. Are you ready for it? Are you ready to sacrifice your weekends? Are you ready to work into various shifts? Are you ready to sacrifice a lot of other things? And moreover, are you ready to face new challenges every day, technically, functionally, or whatever it may be? Will you be able to handle the client? Will you be able to convince the client? Will you be able to explain the client? Will you be able to analyze the issue? All these things usually are not performed by the end users, right? So what all things are needed if you really still you want to make a switch? So some of the points which I have mentioned here is very important. You need to have a complete mindset reboot of your mind, right? So far you are always used to create a ticket, but now you will have to deal with a ticket. You have to resolve the ticket. You have to find out a solution for a ticket. So for that, definitely you need a completely different mindset altogether, from ticket creation to the ticket resolution, as I have just explained, right? Your end user job is usually less hectic. It will not have too much of pressure. Obviously, work pressure would be there, but tension will not be there. Analysis and other things you don't need to do too much, right? But in case of SAP consulting role, you never know what is coming up next. At least if you are in the implementation project, then you will be doing some testing, you will be resolving some defects, you will be doing some configuration, you will have some documentations, you will be referring to that, right? But in your AMS project, if you have, then you are on fire all the time, because you don't know what is coming up next, what kind of issue will come, whether that issue will be from which area in the system this issue will arrive, you cannot predict. So it will become more hectic. Business process knowledge to the business and system functions and features. As an end user, you are not expected to know how the SAP, what all features SAP system has. You will be trained only for a certain activities, and you will be working also into those activities only. You will not go beyond that unless your role changes. But same does not go with the SAP consultants, right? From the very less analysis to the very high level of analysis, as I explained, it will come from the where kind of defects or tickets or tasks, or maybe some kind of solutioning, some kind of new development, new enhancement, new development. There can be so many things: new interface, new BAPI, new user exit, right? We have n number of things into it, right? Then end user jobs are usually considered as more safer jobs, but your consulting role can be very risky, because mistakes are not accepted and are not tolerated at all. Actually, if you do some serious mistake, you will be terminated from the job. I am not saying from the end user you cannot be terminated. I really do not mean anything like that, but when you compare it with consulting role, these jobs are much more risky. Okay. Then exposure or limited areas to the unlimited areas. Imagine, suppose there is a frog, and the frog is uh, just swimming in a small pond, actually, kind of thing, right? And suddenly, if you pick up the same frog and put him in the ocean, imagine how the frog will feel. Earlier frog has very limited area to explore. Now in consulting role, he will be required to explore much more bigger than he can even think of. So limited versus unlimited. So these are the major challenges anybody will face if they really want to do a career switch from end user to the SAP consultant. Sometimes things can go reverse also. That means consultant can also try to become end user if they want to, and that transition would be, I will say, much more easier also, much more easier if they want. But I have not seen anybody who seriously go from SAP consulting role to the SAP end user role. But Given a chance, people can do that comfortably. Though some challenges will be there as well, because again, as I said, mindset reboot need to be done. Moving to the next. Okay. So this particular slide will tell you how difficult and how easy it would be. Look at the right hand side corner. A guy is sitting on the driving seat having a laptop and the steering wheel in front of him, right? So that kind of job, mostly that kind of job will look like for the SAP end users. Basically a driver's role of a vehicle, which is very costly. But then if you are a consultant, the way you can see the person is just getting into the engine of the vehicle in the bonnet, right? And then the other side, on the left hand side, if you see, one more person is trying to fix some nuts and bolts of the vehicle, right? Or maybe some kind of machinery, right? So that kind of work will be expected from you. It will be something like, the best way to compare between end user role and the consulting role is, end user role is mostly like a driver's role, but consultant roles are more like mechanic's role. A mechanic can drive the car also, and mechanic can fix the issue of the car also. But driver can only drive the car. Driver cannot fix the issue of the car. It is not possible, right? So that basic difference we need to always understand, and that is what I feel that that is the best example I can give in terms of the differentiation between SAP end user job and SAP consulting job. Many times people don't understand the difference between the two, and after spending certain years of time or certain years of their career into a particular role, they think that they automatically become eligible for the other role as well. No, I don't agree with it. Right? Now, what are the future challenges SAP consulting role will have? Remember, in SAP consulting side, you will have every time something or the other new will be coming up. New and emerging technologies will be coming up. For example, earlier people were using only ECC versions, right? Now they are using all in HANA versions. Still some clients are, I will say still lot of clients are using SAP ECC system, but they will also have to upgrade in future, right? So, and in cloud, if you talk about cloud itself is a big topic. Public cloud, private cloud, hybrid cloud, single tenant cloud, multi-tenant cloud, right? So many things are there actually. So you have to keep on updating yourself on a regular basis, not just once. Okay, and that is why the area in which we operate is much more challenging, right? Continuous changes in the business environment. I mean, anytime any rule regulation will change, you will have to deal with it. Anywhere company will do some expansion or client will do some expansion, you will have to deal with it. Correct? Government will change some rule regulation. Again, you will have to change those things accordingly. For example, Brexit has brought lot of changes. When the GST was implemented in the India, that time also a lot of changes had to be carried out by the SAP and the clients in order to accommodate those new changes. Right? Sometimes business will get disrupted. Right? Your supply chain gets disrupted due to XYZ factors. Again, lot of different scenarios and changes and challenges will keep coming up. You will have to deal with it. Government rules and regulations I have already talked about, right? Now, use of AI in the consulting. Very recently, even SAP has started using AI and its related applications with regard to the SAP side. Remember, in future, what I personally feel is your regular work or the easy works, these things will go away. Why? Because AI will take care of those things. Where but AI will get stuck up in delivering certain things, that is where the consultant's expertise would be required in order to deliver the work and solution. So unless you become an expert into that area, you will not be able to survive here. Adoption of cloud technologies, we have talked about little bit. Environment analysis of technologies. Nowadays everybody talks about the sustainable growth, sustainable future, how can we reduce the carbon emission, and lot of related stuffs, right? Organic farming, water preservations, earth preservations, plantations, so many things are there, right? So we also will have to see the impact of technology on the overall environment, right? So this factor also sometimes play a very very important role into these things. Sometimes lot of new things also you need to include in the system. And another very interesting trend what I have seen recently is nowadays people do not demand just one skill set, expertise into one skill set. They many times demand somebody who will have skill sets which is not just belong to single module, it will belong from the multiple modules. They will ask, okay, you are a web person, okay, fine, 5 years of web experience, but you should be good in terms of process, you should be good in terms of fi process, you should be good in terms of hd process, then you also should know ABAP on HANA, and all other related stuff also they will ask for. So the client's requirement will be usually very very specific in nature, and then they pinpoint what all skill sets they are looking at in the job description, right? So if you have multi skills, you will be able to survive in the market for the longer run. And other than that, another and very crucial factor is you have to keep unlearning old things and keep relearning new things and understanding new stuffs. For example, 5 years back or 10 years back, AI was not even in the picture. Today AI is being used extensively. You have chat gpt, you have internet of things, right? You have design thinking, you have devops, right? You have you have blockchain, right? Likewise so many different technologies has come in the picture. So you have to keep on upgrading on yourself and your understanding and your learning on a regular basis. Basically, SAP consulting role is all about exploring new stuff every day. It's not one time activity, it is an ongoing activity, a continuous activity. You cannot take a rest. If you are in the consulting side, taking a rest is just not acceptable, just not expected out of you. You will be always required to be available on your toes and ready to work as and when something gets broken up or some new requirements pops in. You will start taking care of those kind of things. That's why the challenges on the consulting side is much more higher when compared to the SAP end user role. Now, coming to my personal opinion on end user and SAP consulting role. So basically, these are two different job profiles. It's not just one profile as such. People many times confuse between the two. They think that it is very easy way to go out. No, had it been so easy, everybody after working for few years in the end user role would have automatically switched to the consulting role, because they can they think that they can start, they become eligible for it basically, and all they do is just do some certification, some course, and then overnight they think that now they are eligible for it. Unfortunately, not, that is not the case. Even switch is also not so easy. As I said, I have seen people who have come in the consulting side after working few years in the end user role working, okay, and they literally struggle a lot when they work for consulting side. They literally struggle a lot because they don't have analysis mindset. They do not possess analysis, and many times they do not even give a try for the simplest of the tasks. They don't do any trial and error activity. They think that everything should be easy way out, everything should be spoon fed kind of thing. And you tell me, who will have time to spoon fed a person every time? Nobody will have. and you are not paid for the spoon feeding purpose, right? You are paid for the work you are supposed to deliver. Plus the preparation what people usually have with regard to the people from end user perspective to the consulting side is very very poor. They don't understand a lot of things. Literally they don't understand. And as I said, it is all about the mind. Are you ready to accept new challenges? Are you ready to deal with a new set of things every day? Because which day what will come, that is an unpredictable item. You cannot predict it. So that's why lot of changes are there. So if you are really planning to do a switch, there is no harm. But then you have to reboot your entire life. The same life which you have carried forward as an end user till date will not work anymore further. You will have to adopt a new complete set of rules and regulations with you and with your life if you really do a switch. That's why I have seen. See, look at how the driver is looking at the other side, right? Comfortably, cool, calm, no issues. But look at the mechanic, how much he is engaged with the system. So car is just like SAP system here, right? See, he is trying to just fix something here and there, and lot many tools and applications he has, right? See, in his garage. Moving to the next. So the best way to explain, as I have already explained, the relationship between as an end user and SAP consulting side would be driver versus mechanic. As you can see, one is having little bit more of comfort, but the other side is not comfortable at all actually. Okay, coming to the conclusion part of it, remember, career is always a personal choice. Career should not be enforced on somebody. It does not work. If you like it, then only you will work for it. If you don't like it, you will not be able to retain it. The hard and soft skills both are needed, but these hard and soft skills both becomes much more important if you are in the consulting side, right? Particularly consulting side will require a lot of hard skills and hell lot of soft skills. That much hard and soft skills are not needed in the consulting role. Sorry, as an in the individual role basically. And in the consulting role, you need to have a lifelong learning mindset, and on the top of it, you should have a personality where everybody should feel comfortable approaching you. If people will not feel comfortable approaching you, you will never be able to succeed in your SAP career, particularly in the consulting side. People must feel comfortable approaching you, right? And networking and all other things also would be very much needed. You have to have a good network. So I think I have covered up almost all the topics under it. If you have any questions, if you have any queries, if you want to clarify some queries which you feel that still not answered during the entire uh, session of this particular video, you can just mention it down. We'll try to reply you. Okay, you can even send your queries on the email ID mentioned below, right? So that's it for today. Thank you so much for watching this video. Kindly like and subscribe my YouTube channel. As I already said, it takes a lot of time and effort to create each of these videos. So my suggestion to you all is kindly like it, subscribe it, put up some comments. Okay, and if you have any queries, that also you can send across by way of commenting on it. Okay, thank you. Wish you a happy Sunday ahead. Bye bye.